Greetings, students of wisdom. Welcome back to the channel, where we explore the timeless lessons that have shaped not only the lives of great philosophers but can also serve us in our everyday lives. Today, we'll dive into an essential skill that can enhance our relationships, improve our understanding of others, and ultimately deepen our connection to ourselves: the art of reading people. You may ask, why is this important? Shouldn't we be more concerned with our own thoughts and actions as Stoicism teaches? And that's a fair question. After all, the Stoics emphasized control over the self, our actions, our thoughts, our emotions, not the external world, which includes the behavior of others. But let's not forget that we are social creatures. Every day, we interact with others, friends, family, colleagues, strangers, and those interactions significantly affect our happiness, peace of mind, and sense of fulfillment. Understanding the motivations, feelings, and struggles of others isn't about controlling them but about better navigating the complexities of human relationships. Today, I'll take you through how the Stoics approach reading people, not with judgment or manipulation but with wisdom, empathy, and detachment. And to make this more tangible, I'll share stories from the lives of great Stoics, lessons from my own experience, and practical ways you can apply these teachings to your life. Let's begin, as always, with a story. Imagine the scene: Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king, revered and admired for his wisdom and calm demeanor, is walking through the streets of Rome. Despite his stature, not everyone adored him. As a ruler, he had enemies. One day, a man full of anger confronted Marcus, hurling insults at him, mocking his leadership, challenging his decisions, and spewing venomous words in front of onlookers. Now, how do most of us react when we're insulted or unfairly criticized? We either defend ourselves, attack back, or, at the very least, we feel hurt. We allow our ego to take control. But Marcus Aurelius did none of those things. Instead, he looked calmly at the man and responded, "If I have wronged you, I will make it right. If not, then the issue is yours." This is a profound example of emotional mastery, and it leads us to the first lesson in the art of reading people. At the heart of the Stoic approach to reading people is the concept of detachment. Detachment doesn't mean indifference or apathy. It means recognizing what's within your control and what's not, and accepting that you cannot control other people. If you're too attached to how others see you, to their approval, or to their behavior matching your expectations, you'll never see them clearly. Your vision will be clouded by your own ego, desires, and fears. Let me share a personal story. Early in my career, I worked with a mentor whose approval I deeply craved. I valued his opinion so much that I found myself constantly second-guessing my decisions, trying to anticipate what he would think or say. Every time he criticized me, even constructively, I would feel devastated. One day, I was reading Epictetus and came across this quote: "Don't demand that things happen as you wish, but wish that they happen as they do, and you will go on well." It struck me that my suffering came not from my mentor's feedback but from my attachment to his approval. I was so fixated on gaining his praise that I had lost sight of my own values and judgment. When I let go of that attachment, I found clarity. I could read his feedback for what it was, valuable advice, without tying my self-worth to it. When you detach from the need for validation or control, you can read people without bias. You can observe their actions without taking them personally. You can understand their emotions without getting swept up in them. This is the Stoic way, to engage with the world, but not be consumed by it. If you want to master the art of reading people, practice detachment. Recognize that you can't control how others behave, but you can control how you interpret their actions. You can choose to see them with compassion, understanding, and wisdom. Before we continue, if you're finding value in these lessons and want to keep growing with us on this journey, take a moment to subscribe to Students of Wisdom. Join our community of seekers who are committed to living virtuous, fulfilled lives grounded in the wisdom of the ancients. Now, let's consider the challenge of dealing with unreliable people. We've all encountered someone who makes promises they don't keep. They commit to plans but constantly cancel, or they say one thing and do another. How do we read these people without becoming frustrated or cynical? There's a story told of an unnamed Stoic sage who had a close friend known for being unreliable. This friend would often agree to meet him for discussions but would frequently cancel at the last minute. The sage's students, noticing this pattern, asked him, "Why do you continue to be friends with someone so unreliable?" The sage replied, "My friend's reliability is not something I control. What I control is my response to it. I value his friendship, even if it comes with imperfections. Expecting perfection from others is a recipe for disappointment." This teaches us a powerful lesson about expectations. Zeno, the founder of Stoicism, experienced a great personal tragedy that led to his philosophical awakening. He was a successful merchant, and one day, while traveling by sea, his ship was wrecked in a storm. He lost everything: his cargo, his wealth, and his livelihood. But instead of being consumed by despair, Zeno saw this disaster as an opportunity. He found himself in Athens, where he wandered into a bookshop and discovered the teachings of Socrates. From there, he began his journey into philosophy, eventually founding the Stoic school. Zeno could have viewed the shipwreck as a cruel twist of fate, but instead, he saw it as a chance for personal growth. And this brings us to another key point in reading people. We all face challenges in life, some small, some catastrophic. How we react to those challenges says more about us than the challenges themselves. Similarly, when you observe how others react to adversity, you gain insight into their character. Think of someone in your life who has recently gone through a difficult time. How did they respond? Did they grow bitter and resentful? Or did they face their challenge with grace and resilience? Often, it's in moments of hardship that people reveal who they truly are. Zeno's response to the shipwreck didn't just reveal his resilience, it marked the beginning of his philosophical journey. Similarly, when you observe how people deal with adversity, you're reading more than their actions, you're reading the essence of their character. When reading people, it's easy to focus on individual moments. We see someone lose their temper and immediately judge them as an angry person. But the truth is, anyone can have a bad day. A single outburst or mistake doesn't define someone's entire character. What you want to observe are patterns. How does this person respond over time, across different situations? Are they consistently kind, even when it's difficult? Do they remain calm under pressure? Or do they repeatedly react with anger, impatience, or bitterness? By looking for patterns, you move beyond the surface and begin to understand the deeper traits that drive people's behavior. This is a key aspect of the Stoic approach to reading people, recognizing that true character is revealed not in isolated actions but in consistent behavior over time. Marcus understood something fundamental that we often forget: people's actions, especially their negative ones, are usually a reflection of their inner state, not a reflection of you. The man's anger was not rooted in Marcus Aurelius' actions but in the man's own frustrations, fears, and unmet needs. If you want to read people well, the first thing you must understand is that their behavior often has little to do with you. This is liberating because it allows you to detach emotionally from the judgments or attacks of others. Let's break this down practically. Anger often comes from a place of fear or pain. Criticism can be a reflection of insecurity or frustration. Distance may come from feelings of overwhelm, stress, or confusion. The next time someone lashes out at you or criticizes you, pause for a moment and ask yourself, what might this person be going through? What's driving their behavior? Rather than taking it personally, try to see the situation from their perspective. This isn't about excusing harmful actions but about understanding them more deeply. I once had a colleague who was extremely critical of me. No matter what I did, it was never enough. For a long time, I felt frustrated and defensive. But one day, after reading the teachings of Marcus Aurelius, I decided to approach the situation differently. Instead of reacting to her criticism, I simply asked her, "Is everything okay?" What I learned was that she was under immense pressure from her own superiors and was carrying a heavy burden. Her criticism of me was less about my performance and more about her own stress. When I understood this, I was able to let go of my own frustrations and respond with empathy. Now, let's turn the lens inward for a moment. One of the most important aspects of reading others is having a deep understanding of yourself. After all, our judgments of others are often colored by our own insecurities, fears, and desires. The Stoics believe that self-awareness is the foundation of wisdom. If you don't understand your own mind, your biases, your triggers, your habits, you won't be able to see others clearly. There's a story of a Stoic philosopher who was once asked, "How do I know if my judgments are clouded?" The philosopher replied, "Examine your own soul first. If you find peace and clarity within, then you will see the world as it truly is." To read people well, start by examining yourself. Ask yourself, what are my biases? Do I tend to judge people too quickly? What are my insecurities? Am I projecting my own fears onto others? What are my desires? Am I seeing this person as they are, or as I want them to be? When you cultivate self-awareness, you can approach others with a clearer, more objective mind. You'll be less likely to project your own issues onto them, and more likely to see them as they truly are. To master the art of reading people, you don't need to manipulate, control, or judge. Instead, you need to approach others with empathy, observation, and detachment. You need to understand that their actions often reflect their inner world, not yours. You need to let go of unrealistic expectations and embrace the power of silence. Remember the key lessons we've covered. People's actions are more about them than about you. Empathy comes from understanding the bigger picture. Silence allows us to read people more deeply. Reactions to hardship reveal true character. Let go of unrealistic expectations. Detachment helps you see people clearly. Self-awareness is the foundation of understanding others. By practicing these principles, you'll not only read people more effectively, but you'll also cultivate deeper, more meaningful relationships. You'll move through life with greater wisdom, understanding, and compassion. If you found this video helpful, please remember to like and share it. And if you haven't already, subscribe to Students of Wisdom for more teachings that guide you toward a virtuous, fulfilling life. Thank you for watching, and may you walk the path of wisdom with clarity and peace. One of the biggest obstacles to reading people accurately is our own expectations. We expect others to act a certain way, to meet our standards, to be as reliable or kind or thoughtful as we want them to be. And when they fall short, we feel hurt or betrayed. But Stoicism teaches us to let go of these unrealistic expectations. People are imperfect, just as we are. When we expect perfection, whether it's reliability, kindness, or anything else, we set ourselves up for disappointment. Instead of expecting people to meet your standards, accept them as they are. This doesn't mean tolerating bad behavior or letting people walk all over you. It simply means adjusting your expectations to align with reality. I used to have a friend who was always late. No matter how many times I asked him to show up on time, he would consistently be 20 to 30 minutes late. For years, this frustrated me. I felt disrespected, and I couldn't understand why he couldn't just be punctual. But after reflecting on Stoic teachings, I realized that my frustration came from expecting him to be someone he wasn't. His lateness wasn't a reflection of his feelings toward me, but a habit he had developed over time. Once I let go of the expectation that he would change, I was able to enjoy his company without the frustration. By adjusting your expectations, you free yourself from unnecessary disappointment. You also become better at reading people because you're no longer clouded by your own desires for how they should behave. Seneca, another great Stoic philosopher, was known for his calm demeanor and ability to navigate the chaos of Roman politics with grace. Despite being one of the wealthiest men in Rome, Seneca practiced Stoicism's principles of modesty and restraint. He also believed in treating those around him, including his servants, with dignity. One day, a servant accidentally spilled wine during a banquet at Seneca's home. The other guests laughed at the servant's clumsiness and called for punishment. In ancient Rome, servants were often treated harshly for the smallest of mistakes. But Seneca did something unexpected. He smiled, dismissed the mistake, and said, "It's only wine, after all." Seneca wasn't merely showing kindness. He understood that the servant's mistake wasn't a personal affront. He could have reacted with anger or punishment, But he saw the bigger picture. Accidents happen, and the servant was likely already embarrassed and anxious. Punishing him would have only deepened the man's shame. To read people well, we need to look beyond the immediate actions and words. We must strive to understand the bigger picture, their background, their context, and their internal state. Empathy is about more than feeling sorry for someone. It's about truly understanding where they're coming from. When Seneca chose not to punish his servant, he wasn't just being kind. He was acknowledging that mistakes are a part of life, and that harsh reactions often come from a narrow view of the situation. Think about the last time someone snapped at you. It might have been a friend, a colleague, or even a stranger. Our natural response is to feel offended or frustrated. But what if we paused and considered the broader context? What if that person had a bad day, was dealing with personal issues, or was simply overwhelmed? By widening your perspective and considering the context of someone's actions, you can approach them with greater empathy and less judgment. This not only helps you read people better but also strengthens your relationships and leads to more harmonious interactions.